Today I'm going to talk about a system that I have developed on what to do with all those numbers that you receive at the NCE meeting. We know that those numbers pretty soon just get overwhelming, and it's just hard to keep track of them, and it's hard to contact everybody on there. So for several years I've searched for a system that I could make work, and I think I've come across a pretty good system. I'm sure you recognize this, that meetings are a very busy place. People are moving around, people are doing things, you're trying to write minis, you're trying to listen to presentations, and you get all those numbers, and some of the numbers are good, some of them are incomplete, and so you just don't have a whole lot of time to explore all those numbers and try to make sense of them. So for now, I've come across a system that's called Trello, and you can download Trello and you can study it and you can work on it and maybe come up with some ideas, and we can collaborate together on how to make this system better. But Trello is a great digital system of lists, and in those lists are cards, and cards are on a board, and we'll get into that in just a second. And you can see on the board that I've got several packages. I've got packages in the top row across the top, and I've got columns going down. And what it is, you can see the subject on the left, and I see all the cards across the top row. Those that are people that have presented their number to the podium, and the podium has recorded those people as being takers for the subject property. So you can see there's several cards across the top row, and those top row are packages that are interested in the subject property. Now that is just the first row of takers, that's across the top. And what you really want to do at an NCE meeting is not only do you want takers for your property, which would result in a one-way transaction, but you want to find out if there's any more transactions that could be available to your client. And so I look at each property on the top row and see who are takers for that property. And you can see from the columns that the first column over there next to the subject has got 1, 2, 3 takers for that property on the top row. The one over where the vertical takes the cards below, and you can see the guy with carrying the debt ball, that person got, I think that's a promissory note, and that person got 1, 2, 3, 4 takers for that property. And so you can see over on the right-hand corner that these are all takers for the top card. And so what you want to do is look at each card in the top row and see who is takers for that card. And what that means is that now your client can have their choice of anything on that board, and that should work in a three-way deal. Now this is the structure of the board that you see on the screen. I've got all the takers for the subject property are on the top row. And you can see on the very left-hand side that there's a column called Final Takers. Now, if your client is interested in any of those properties on the board, you would just copy those cards and move them over to the Final Taker list. And there's an easy way to do that by filtering and with labels, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But all of those packages are cards that have all the NCE information in them, and you can see how many properties that are actually available to this client. Not only do you have the properties across the top row, but you also have all the properties in the columns. And not only do you have all the properties in the columns, but let's take a look at this building. You can just barely see the building where my cursor is. And that building, if you click on that, they have 8 takers. And so you could build another board below that, and you would have even more takers. The thing about this is that you can go wide and deep with your takers. And what I mean by going wide and deep with your takers is that the Trello board is the brown, it's the board, and on each Trello board are cards, and each card has a front and a back, and you can put anything you want to on the back of the card. And I usually put the NCE package, I'll put a map, I'll put interesting things about the property or what the client will do or the equities. Anything you want can go on the back of that card. And you can link cards together and you can link boards together. In the previous example, I showed that the building in Pueblo had 8 takers. And so on the first board would be, as you see right above, the second board could be that building with those 8 takers. And so you can build this board system as wide as you want to. You can put as many Trello cards on the board as you would like, and you can go as deep and link as many boards together or cards that you would like also. So it's a very powerful system. And once you get your Trello board built, you can run several scenarios. Like if you wanted your client might say, well, I would take this building, or I would take that building, or I would take that property. You could sort those with labels. Labels have different colors, and you can put information on the labels. You could do one scenario with your client, and all the yellow labels would be one deal, all the blue labels would be another deal, all the red labels would be another deal. So you could probably work 3 or 4 or 5 scenarios and filter all those cards. It's not a hard thing to do when you learn a little bit about the labels. So Trello is an instant visual process. You can have numerous takers, you can have numerous boards, you can discover potential legs that you would have never seen if you just looked at that list of taker numbers that you receive from NCE. And so this can be used in the national meetings or your private meetings. The Xander board technique works very well with this system, and it gives you a very good visual on all the different ways that you can take properties. And that's why they teach the Xander board method at the NCE meetings, the cowboy auction. It's a wonderful thing to look at and see all the ideas and the things that people come up with. Give it some thought, look it over, and I have sent out a previous email asking for package numbers for the 11 houses that are in Belleville, Illinois. And so look at that and see what you think.